I archived deleted Reddit threads. Tonight, I found my own name. The clock on my desk showed exactly 2:14 in the morning. The house was completely silent, save for the low, rhythmic click of my mechanical keyboard. Outside, a cold, late November rain was washing against the glass of my study window. I have been doing this for over 3 years now, archiving deleted text, pulling down snapshots from the Wayback Machine, scraping forgotten corners of old database servers. It started as a simple hobby, a way to pass the long, empty hours of my chronic insomnia. But over time, it turned into an obsession. I specialized in a very specific niche. I hunted for viral threads that had been scrubbed from the internet within hours of being posted. Stories from regular people that formatting scripts and forum moderators had wiped clean from the public view. Most of them were just hoaxes, attention-seeking teenagers writing fictional horror for quick internet points. But every once in a while, I found something different. A text file that carried a strange, cold weight to it. A narrative that felt less like a creative writing exercise and more like a desperate, frantic cry for help. Tonight, I was digging through an old data dump from a popular internet forum, a specific archive of urban legends and personal encounters. I loaded a text document from the summer of 24. The heading at the top of the file was plain. It used the standard layout of a popular discussion board. Thread title, r/askreddit. What is the single most unsettling thing you have ever found hidden in your own home? The post was written by a user named uGraySky99. The text began normally, describing a regular house renovation in a small Midwestern suburb. We bought the property from an estate sale in July. The previous owner was an elderly librarian who lived alone for 40 years. During the second week of clearing out the master bedroom, I noticed something strange about the built-in cedar wardrobe. The back panel sounded completely hollow when I knocked against it. I took a flathead screwdriver and managed to pry the wood away from the frame. Behind it, there was a narrow, unlit space between the bedroom wall and the structural brickwork. It was entirely empty, except for a single, modern digital camera tripod standing perfectly upright in the dust. Attached to the mount was a small, black plastic recording device. The battery was completely drained. When I plugged the unit into my laptop, I found a single video file dated 3 days before we signed the closing paperwork. The video was 4 hours long. It showed a continuous, unedited shot of the bedroom. It was filmed through a tiny hole drilled in the back of the wardrobe. The camera was focused directly on the bed, but the previous owner had already passed away in a nursing home 3 months prior to that date. The house was supposed to be completely empty. At the 2-hour mark of the footage, the bedroom door slowly opens from the inside. A figure walks into the room. It is wearing my winter jacket. It has my exact build. It walks over to the mattress, lies down in the dark, and stares directly at the hidden camera hole for the remaining 2 hours of the tape, without blinking once. I paused. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. The room felt slightly colder than it had a few minutes ago. I looked over my shoulder at the dark hallway behind my chair. The doorway was completely empty. The shadow of the coat rack in the hall looked long and thin under the faint glow of the monitor. I shook my head and reached for my mug of lukewarm coffee. It was just an old internet story, a classic piece of digital folklore. I scrolled down to read the comments that had been saved in the data dump. Most of the replies were standard. Users calling it a fake, people telling the author to contact the police. But near the bottom of the log, there was a response from a deleted account. The timestamp showed it was posted just 4 minutes before the entire thread was purged from the servers. You think you are looking at an old tape? Check the file properties again. Check the local MAC address of the recording device. It didn't use an external memory card. It was streaming the feed directly to a local wireless network. It wasn't recording the past. It was caching a baseline profile. I leaned closer to my screen. The text was small. The formatting was messy. I rubbed my eyes. The high-pitched hum of my desktop tower seemed to grow slightly louder, a steady, buzzing frequency that vibrated right behind my temples. I clicked out of the first text file and opened the next index in the folder. Thread title: r/legal advice. Someone is leaving handwritten messages inside my apartment, but the locks haven't been broken. This thread was older. It dated back to the winter of 22. The user, Northwoods native, had posted a frantic series of paragraphs over the course of 48 hours. I live alone in a third-floor studio. No pets, no roommates. No one else has a key except the building superintendent, and he is an 80-year-old man who can barely walk the stairs. 3 days ago, I came home from my shift at the warehouse and found a square of yellow note paper sitting in the exact center of my kitchen counter. The message was written in rough, jagged handwriting. It said, "The noise from the pipes is getting louder because the partition is leaking." I assumed it was a mistake. Maybe the super had entered to check the plumbing and left a note meant for another unit. I threw it away. The next evening, I found another yellow note. This one was tucked under my pillow. The handwriting was identical, but more aggressive. The pen had pressed so hard into the paper that the fibers were torn. It read, "Stop looking at the screen after midnight. The light makes it easier for the framework to see where your face is." I changed the deadbolt that night. I spent $200 on a high-security lock. I jammed a wooden chair under the door handle before I went to bed. When I woke up this morning, the chair was still in place. The door was locked from the inside, but when I reached into my jacket pocket to grab my car keys, my fingers touched paper. It was a third yellow note. It said, "The template is almost finished. You can stop pretending now." The narrator of the thread continued in the updates, describing how the online community immediately suggested a carbon monoxide leak. It was a famous piece of Reddit history. A regular user had once discovered they were writing notes to themselves due to severe gas poisoning. The author of this thread bought a digital detector from a hardware store that afternoon. They posted a photograph of the device. The screen showed a reading of 0 parts per million. The air was perfectly clean. The final update on the thread was posted at 3:14 in the morning. "The detector is quiet. The house is cold, but I can hear someone typing inside my wall. Not a small scratching sound like mice. It is the heavy, rhythmic click of a mechanical keyboard. It matches the exact speed of my own thoughts. Whenever I think of a word, the clicking in the wall spells it out. I can hear the spacebar right now. It is sitting just 3 inches behind my bathroom mirror." I let go of my mouse. The clicking sound in my own room had stopped because I had stopped typing. The silence in my study was heavy. It felt thick, like a physical pressure pressing down against my eardrums. I sat perfectly still on my foam cushion. My heart was beating with a fast, irregular cadence. I listened. I listened as hard as I could. Clicking. A single, isolated sound came from the hallway. It was soft. A low, plastic sound, like a keycap being pressed down and released on a cheap computer interface. "Hello," I called out. My voice sounded thin. It lacked texture in the empty room. No one answered. The rain continued to beat against the window pane, a chaotic, unpredictable pattern of water hitting glass. I forced myself to take a deep breath. I told myself that my mind was playing tricks on me. When you spend enough hours reading about anomalies, your brain starts to look for patterns in the ambient noise of an old house. The floorboards settle. The heating ducts expand and contract. It was entirely logical. I turned back to the monitor. I opened the third file in the compilation folder. Thread title, r/nosleep. I am a tracking specialist for the county sheriff department. There are things in the deep woods that do not leave physical trails. The post was massive. It was structured as a long series of incident logs from an experienced wilderness search and rescue officer. We get called out to the state park about 12 times a year for missing hikers. Most of the time, it is a simple case of disorientation. Someone strays off the marked trail to take a photograph, gets turned around by the heavy cedar growth, and spends a night shivering in a ditch until we find them with the dogs. But there is a specific category of cases that we are told to never log in the official state database. We call them the clean drops. A hiker will be walking in a group of 3 or 4 people. They will be in the middle of a conversation, walking in single file on a wide, clear path. The person at the back will turn their head for a fraction of a second to swat a mosquito or check their shoelace. When they look up, the person who was walking 2 feet in front of them is gone. No sound of a struggle, no scream, no rustle of leaves. The tracking dogs will lead us to the exact spot where the footprints stop, and I mean stop literally. The heel mark will be deep in the mud, but there will be no toe print, as if the person was simply lifted directly into the sky by an invisible wire. 2 weeks ago, we found one of them, a young woman who had disappeared from a trail 3 days prior. She was sitting perfectly upright on top of a massive granite boulder in the center of an old-growth pine section. The boulder was 15 feet high, with smooth, sheer faces. There were no branches nearby. There was no physical way for a human being to climb it without technical ropes and a harness. She was just sitting there, her hands folded neatly in her lap. She was wearing her hiking clothes. But they were completely dry, despite a massive thunderstorm that had dumped 3 inches of rain on the valley the night before. When we finally got a ladder up to her, she wouldn't look at us. Her eyes were fixed on a small patch of empty air about 6 inches in front of her face. She was whispering a single phrase over and over again. It was a string of letters and numbers. U/Alpha, Romeo, Tango, Hotel. U/Alpha, Romeo, Tango, Hotel. I didn't realize what it meant until I got home and typed the characters into an internet search engine. It was a standard user directory prefix for a social media site. It was a profile link, but when I clicked the link, the page showed a blank profile with my own full legal name and my current home address listed as the description. I felt a sharp, icy knot form in the center of my stomach. You Arthur. That was my old username. The account I had used when I first started browsing internet forums 10 years ago. The account I had deleted when I decided to stay completely anonymous. My hand was shaking as I took hold of the mouse again. I scrolled down the search and rescue thread with a frantic, jerky motion. The text was blurring together before my eyes. The paranoia wasn't just a mental state anymore. It was a physical sensation. It felt like a cold wire running down the length of my spine. There was an update attached to the bottom of the log. It was dated today, June 24th, 26. The timestamp was 2:29 a.m. I looked at the digital clock on my desk. It was exactly 2:29 a.m. The specialist who wrote this log is no longer monitoring this station. If you are currently reading this archive file, please verify that your local perimeter is intact. The entities do not use the forest anymore. They found that the digital infrastructure provides a much more direct line of sight. They use the text layers as a pathway. Every time you load a paragraph into your local memory cache, you are opening a directory. You are downloading the architecture of the space into your room. Look at the wallpaper. Look at the layout of your furniture. Does it look exactly the same as it did when you sat down tonight? Or has the angle changed by a fraction of an inch? I slammed my hand down on the power button of my desktop tower. The screen went black instantly. The sudden absence of the monitor's blue glare left the room in near total darkness. The only light came from the faint, pale gray outline of the window frame, filtered through the heavy downpour outside. I sat in the dark, my chest rising and falling in short, shallow gasps. The silence returned, but it was louder now. The electrical hum of the computer fan died down, leaving a deep, hollow void in the air. Clicking. The sound came again, from the hallway. It wasn't a mechanical keyboard this time. It was the sound of a bare foot pulling away from a sticky surface, like a wet palm lifting off a sheet of plastic. "Who is there?" I whispered. My throat felt incredibly dry. The words barely made it past my lips. No response. I reached out with my right hand, groping around the edge of the desk for my smartphone. My fingers brushed against the smooth casing. I picked it up and tapped the screen to wake it. The display lit up, a bright, white square that illuminated my hands, but there were no icons on the home screen. There was no signal indicator, no battery percentage. There was only a single, white text window open on the interface. It looked like a standard private message notification from an internet app. The sender was listed as uGraySky99. The message read, "Our glitch in the Matrix. I think my narrator is starting to realize that the files aren't coming from an outside server." I stared at the glass screen. My mind felt completely fractured. I couldn't process the words. I paused. I raised my head and looked toward the study window. The rain had stopped. Not gradually, not with a slow clearing of the clouds. It had stopped instantly, as if an audio track had been cut off in the middle of a wave. The water drops on the glass were perfectly still. They weren't sliding down the pane anymore. They were frozen in place, small, clear beads of liquid that didn't reflect the light of my phone. I stood up from my chair. My knees felt weak, like old wood ready to snap under a heavy load. I walked slowly toward the window. I pressed my face close to the glass, trying to peer out into the darkness of my backyard. There was no backyard. The oak tree was gone. The wooden fence was gone. The neighbor's house was gone. Outside the window, stretching out as far as my eyes could see, there was nothing but a flat, featureless, infinite expanse of pale, glowing gray matter. It looked like an unrendered text background, a vast, empty canvas that lacked texture, shadow, or depth. My phone vibrated in my palm, a short, sharp buzz that made me jump. Another message had appeared beneath the first one. The sender this time was U Northwoods native. Thread title, "Are the End. Please remain seated until the system formatting script has finished clearing the local directory." The text read, "The user profile named Arthur has been running for 32 years without a clean cache wipe. The memories of the suburban house, the insomniac hobby, the mechanical keyboard. They were all just scraped from old archived threads to populate the baseline routine. You didn't find the compilation tonight, Arthur. The compilation found you. Your partition has been leaking for hours. Look down at your hands." I slowly lowered the phone. I turned my palms upward, aiming the white light of the display directly at my skin. My fingers didn't have ridges. They didn't have fingernails or pores or small hairs. They were made of smooth, uniform, white plastic. The edges were perfectly straight, sharp, and blocky, like an unpolished model inside an old digital editing program. As I watched, a small line of black text began to print itself across the back of my left wrist. The characters were small, lowercase, and neat. Text layer integration 60%. I tried to scream, but no sound came out of my throat. My jaw wouldn't move. The joints were locked in a rigid, 90-degree angle. The walls of my study began to peel away. The books on the shelves didn't fall to the floor. They simply dissolved into flat, green lines of code that floated upward into the dark ceiling grid. The desk, the chair, the lukewarm mug of coffee, everything was breaking down into raw metadata, leaving nothing behind but the small, square monitor on the floor, which was still pulsing with a faint, digital hum. I looked up at the void above me. The ceiling was completely gone now. Standing in the center of the empty space, towering over my dissolving reality, was a massive, geometric shape made of billions of lines of white text. It looked like an endless, scrolling feed of old Reddit threads wrapped around a central, hollow core that looked like a giant, open eye. The lines of text were moving with a frantic, terrifying speed, thousands of words per second, compiling, sorting, and deleting. And in the very center of that text mass, where the pupil of the eye should have been, I could see my own face, my real face, the one from the video file inside the cedar wardrobe, the one that had been staring through the tiny hole for 3 years, waiting for the routine to finally reach the end of the script. The eye blinked once. A final message printed itself across the center of my fading vision. Thread title: Our Welcome Home. The profile has been successfully recycled. System notice: formatting complete. 0 assets remaining in Sector 34. The white light of the display finally flickered out, swallowing my thoughts into a deep, silent, absolute dark.